So there's been a lot of discussion here locally about how to grade everybody during this time home from school. So we here at TMR, the Math Wizard, called in some of our other local wizards just to consult to see what they think. So I don't know, Gandalf, what do you think about how any kind of message for these students about grading?
You cannot pass! Get out!
Gee, Gandalf, I don't know. That sounds a little harsh to say that they're not going to pass. Do you want to rethink that? Are you sure? I mean, really, what do you want to tell these students? I don't know. Sorry, guys. You heard the wizard. He seemed pretty emphatic. We'll continue to talk about it, but I don't know.
Hello, 7th grade math, multiplying and dividing fractions. There is a paper with some notes, the problems that we started that I'm about to do on the board. First problem will have 2/3 times 5/7 on it, so you can locate that paper and we'll work through those. So in the simplest version of multiplying or dividing fractions, you have a multiply problem, or you can just go straight across. 2 times 5 is 10, 3 times 7 is 21. That's the easiest possible way you could do that. They don't always go that well. Okay. Second thing that we can sometimes do, other than going straight across, on this problem we could go straight across to get 6 over 12, and you could reduce that. But in my opinion, you save yourself some bother when you try to cancel. Canceling you can use anytime you can find a pair of numbers, one top, one bottom, that have a GCF, the greatest common factor, something that goes into both of them. The most perfect way to cancel is something like this, where there's a 3 on the top and there's a 3 on the bottom that are a perfect match, and you could just cross them out. If you insist on writing a number, you can write ones, but you don't usually have to worry about writing the ones, but they are there. Anytime you cancel a number completely, there are ones left. 2 and 4 can also cancel because there's 1 on the top, 1 on the bottom. They have a GCF, 2 goes into both. So you can take 2 into this, leaving a 1, and you can take 2 into this, leaving a 2. You don't have to write the 1s, but you can. And when you get done canceling, the only thing on the bottom is a 2, the only thing left in the top is a 1, whether you did or didn't write the 1s, they are still there. If you don't like to cancel, and you want to go across and get 6/12ths, and you're better be good at reducing that, because you're going to have to reduce down to a half from 6/12ths. And that's okay, but you have to get down to a half. I think canceling is easier. Dividing fractions, you might remember from yesterday that we are going to flip this second fraction upside down, and divide changes to a multiply. So when we go straight across, it's not 3 with 8, it would be 3 with the 11 once we get that upside down. On the bottom, 7 not times 11, 7 times 8, because that's upside down, is 56. Sometimes people will say copy, change, flip. You copy the first one, change to multiply, flip the second one. If you like thinking that way, that's fine. This is another divide, so I'll multiply. It's another one where we need to flip that second one, and then we go to work. If it's me on this one, I think I'd cancel. You couldn't do any canceling here, so I didn't talk about it. But this I can cancel, because 5 into 10 goes twice. 6 and 8 can both be divided by 2s to get a 3 and a 4. And you can even recancel once you cancel. 2 is on the bottom, and it can go into 4 that's on the top and leave you a 2. And when you're all done canceling, all that's left on top is a 2. The only thing on the bottom is a 3. If you don't like canceling, you could have made 40 over 60, but you'd have had to reduce for a little bit to get 40 over 60 reduced down. I think it's easier to cancel the numbers when they're little than to make them big and then try to get them back down. Taking a step here to the right, this whole world of problems we're about to do, we're going to have to make ourselves 2 new fractions. You cannot do anything with mixed and whole numbers and multiplying unless you change them to impropers. So for a mixed, you want to take the bottom times the whole number and add the top. That would give me a 7. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7. Leave the bottom alone. Do the same thing with this. 7 times 5, add the top, is 36 over 7. You have to change any mixed numbers into improper fractions before you can multiply. People that refuse to cancel are going to regret that, I think, starting on a lot of these. 7 times 36 is getting a little big. A lot easier to cancel the 7s. Perfect matches, just cross them out. 1 on the top, 1 on the bottom, cross them out. Likewise, 3 goes into 36 12 times. The only thing we're left with is a 12, and the answer is 12. You don't have to write that over 1. There is an invisible 1 here on the bottom, but I don't need to write fractions on top of 1s. You can just write the top down if the bottom vanishes. Unlike over here, when the top vanished, you did need a 1 on the top, but you don't need the 1 on the bottom. 8 1/2, same thing. Bottom times 8 plus top is 17. 2 is still on the bottom. Whole number is a different approach. Copy the whole number on top of a 1. I would look to cancel when you can. 6 and 2 are cancelable because 2 into 6 goes 3 times. I don't need to write a 1 on the bottom. I'm going to get a whole number. 3 times 17, if I do that out, will be a 51. This one is almost the same. We need to do the same change around here. 4 times 3 is 12, plus 3 is 15 fourths. And do a similar change around here. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5 over 2. But when you divide, you have to also flip. So we would have for a moment a 5 over 2 from this, but eventually a 2 over 5 is what we want once we've flipped. 15, 5 cancel to leave 3. 2 and 4 cancel to leave 2. 3 over 2 is not bad, but also not best because it's improper. The bottom goes into the top 1 time with 1 remainder, and we leave the bottom the way it was. One more like that. Over here, can't do mixed numbers, so 4 times 5 is 20, plus the top is 23. 2 times 7 is 14, plus 1 would be 15 over 2, but we need to flip. 2 over 15, and that's now a multiply problem once you flip. Canceling 2 and 4 leaves you 2, because 2 goes into that twice. And when you go across, 23 is on the top, 30 is on the bottom. Before we do this giant problem, let's do the little bit of notes at the bottom of the page, because I want to stress that the order matters in terms of what you do when. You can't just flip when you want to flip. You can't just cancel when you want to cancel. You can't just go across when the mood strikes you. You have to do the right things in the right order. So for a bigger problem like this, step 1, if it's needed, is make mixed or whole numbers improper. That has to be where you start. So the last few, that's how we started. This one, that's how we're going to start. This needs to be new. This needs to be new. That needs to be new. So does this. So does that. The first thing we'll do is change all of those mixed numbers or whole numbers to be impropers. Second thing to look for is any divide symbols. After you've made that first change, any divide symbols are going to make you need to flip things. Then third, if possible, you can cancel. Canceling can only happen after you've gotten rid of all the mixed numbers, after you've gotten rid of all the divides. Then cancel becomes an option in the middle of the problem. Always 4 goes straight across. And then 5, if possible, simplify, but if you do the canceling grade, you probably won't have to simplify much. So big giant question here. If you want to try to pause and see if you can do it on your own, feel free. If you want to just work with me, go ahead and work with me. But this one we would change to be 8/3. This I would change to be 11/5. 9/5. 11/4, 8/3. Okay, step one on that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 we just did is get rid of all the mixed numbers, make them improvers. Step two is flipping anytime you see a divide. So this divide needs me to flip this. It was 11 over 5, so now I'm 5/11. This flips 7 over 2. This has to flip to be 3/8. Then we look to cancel. So let me copy those down. Cancel mania, I would look for matches, top and a bottom that I can pair off and cancel. So I have an 11 top and I have an 11 bottom. I have a 9 top and a 9 bottom. I have a 7 top and a 7 bottom. I have a 3 top and a 3 bottom. An 8 top and an 8 bottom. A 2 top and a 2 bottom. A 5 top and a 5 bottom. And after all of that, I'm left with a 6 and a 4. 2 goes into both of these. 2 into that is 3, 2 into that is 2. So 3 over 2 is pretty good, but that's still improper. 2 goes into 3 once with 1 remainder over 2. That whole big giant thing is 1.5. If you tried to do that one without canceling, I don't think that would work well. I mean, it would be like, it might be like 1,000,000 over 1,000,000 or some such thing as that. It would be a large thing. Today we're multiplying and dividing fractions on the worksheet. Email me if you have any questions.